Yeah, welcome back. It's Lindsay again from Rockhampton Cooling Solutions. What we're going to do now is just run the unit in the cool mode, and the unit, of course, will enter into its preparing to start mode, which will close the drain valve and open up the solenoid to allow water into the unit. So we'll just do that first. And by pressing the start button on the controller, as you can see, be excused that my controller's a little bit scratched, it is a bit old. You'll see the drain valve, or you may have just heard the drain valve close and the solenoid start to open. Now, of course, that'll fill and triggers the two-prong probe there to start the pump, which I've got disconnected, of course. So yeah, of course that'll fill up, start the pump, pre-wet your pads before the unit actually starts. So what we'll do now is I'll just stop this unit and we'll force this into a code 02. Righto, what we'll do now is we'll restart this machine. And as you should be able to just make out, it's preparing to start by closing the automatic drain valve, and it should have opened up the water sensor, the solenoid, but apparently there's no water coming through, so that either could be a blockage in the water line, or maybe a crook cable, crook CPMD, or possibly more of the fact is probably just simply a crook solenoid. So what we'll do is we'll let that run for a period of time, and and I'll show you when the code comes up. Right, well, our unit's been running for approximately 5 minutes now, and of course the pump hasn't started because the water level hasn't raised enough. Well, no water's actually entered the unit, so it hasn't triggered the two-prong water sensor. But another thing to note while it's running is if you look into the CPMD here, you'll see these cables down the road, you'll see two little blinking lights. Now one's hard and one is flashing. Now that should be flashing green. So it's flashing red at the moment to say that it's actually a problem somewhere. And the two flashes tells me that it's an O2. So once again, we'll just let it continue on what it's doing, and it should start to show a fault. Okay, now on your hand controller you'll see the word service flashing there now, which means either you need to call the service agent and have him come and rectify the problem for you, or if you hit the start button down here, the go button, you'll see the code 02 come up to the bottom. Now that's pretty important if you can pass it. If you can't fix it, you need to tell your service techs so that they know what the problem is, or know where to go, so they're not up there for hours on end trying to work out what the problem is. But like I say, it's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple fault to rectify, and any good service tech should be able to nail that one in a couple of minutes. So anyway, we'll go to the next one. I actually just had a bit of a thought before we go any further. What I might do is just energise the solenoid again, and you'll see how instantly that service will go. That service will disappear from your hand control. Okay, well I've energised the solenoid again, and it's still showing up with the word O2. So if we press it again, of course it'll go straight back into preparing to start, which ultimately won't completely clear the code in the handpiece, but the unit will run how it's intended to. And also, if you look back into the CPMD, you'll see how the two little LEDs are now flashing. One is green, which means everything's okay, and the red is flashing, which still means everything's okay.